Woot woot. Welcome back, everyone. This is the Vegans Who Lift podcast, season 5, episode 1, brought to you by your favorite vegan podcast hosts. We have Brooke Sellers, aka Miss Meatless Muscle, and myself, John Thomas, aka the Bodybuilding Vegan. What's up, Brooke?
What's up? I'm excited for this season. We have probably the biggest season ever. We have a great lineup of guests for you guys. People that you have probably followed for years if you've been vegan for a while, people you may have seen on the stage, people you may have made recipes from. I mean, you name it. So we're very excited to share who's going to be on this season. And you guys are going to know these people for sure. There's some big names in the vegan world.
Yeah, 100%. People that I've followed for probably a decade. I think we've made it. I think it's okay to say we've made it. We got something special here. I don't know quite anybody else doing it like this. So not that we're better than anybody, but just maybe a little different.
Consistency. Yeah, we just keep showing up, keep putting stuff out there, and I feel like we have kind of solidified our place in the vegan fitness world.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Well, I feel like it's been a minute since we talked. It kind of had. Well, we talked about
A little
business,
bit.
taxes, tax time. That's always fun.
Best time of the year.
Yeah, for all you self-employed people out there, you know how we feel right now. Um, are we gonna do wins of the week or question game? I can't remember. My brain is mush right now, but
I have no questions, but we could do wins for the week.
you do wins for the week. All right.
God, I'll
You
have
want
to
to go
think of my
first?
win.
I was gonna put you on the spot. What is
Oh,
my win?
okay.
Yeah.
I have a couple wins, I guess. I don't know. They're nothing big. I'd have to really think about it if I had something awesome and fantastic. But I finished Hogwarts Legacy, which is an RPG role playing game on Xbox. Which I don't know if that's a win. It was honestly more depressing than it was
Aw.
exciting because I was like, oh my god, no, I'm gonna have to play it again in a different house. I started my new Lego project. I haven't done Legos in a while because I've just been super busy, but my client sent me this awesome Lego. She sent me, shout out B. She sent me the Burrow, which is the Weasley's house in Harry Potter, and so I've
Oh.
been, yeah, so I've been eyeing it, and I'm like, God, I really need to start that. So I'm just like, all right, I just got to make time. I could do like 2 bags a day, because it comes in like these little bags. I think there's probably like 30 of them, so I'm just gonna do like 2 a day. Just start it. So that was exciting. That was good. Just little things.
Yeah, I did see that in your story this morning. I didn't know it was the Weasley house, but now I know. Now it makes sense. I thought it was something
Spoiler
from like
alert.
what is that? What is that game like? I don't think it's called Farm Animal. It's like a
Oh,
animal. What is that called? I never played it,
was
but
it Farmville?
Farmville or something. Yeah, a lot of people play it. It's kind of what it looked like, but now that makes sense. Um, Somebody's gonna correct us. I don't think it's either of those, but my win of the week. It's been a very transformational last month or so for me. I moved in with Allie because I'm like quasi homeless. I'm staying with Alex near us a few days a week as well. That's all good though. That's homeless by choice. I'm not going to MI40 anymore because now I'm out like in Lakeland. So I'm just going to a Crunch and a Metroflex out here. Um, a lot of things are like different for me. Uh, I haven't really been public about this, but I guess for our loyal listeners and for you, Brooke, because I don't even know if I've told you. I don't know. I feel like my life is a blur right now, but I'm kind of taking a step back from the stage right now. So I'm no longer Animal Crossing. That's what it is. Animal Crossing. Thank you,
Ah,
Sean. I need to check the notes more often. Um, but yeah, I'm no longer coached right now. Um, I had worked underneath a coach for 5 years, and I've made the decision to take a step back just to kind of like give myself a chance to reignite my passion for bodybuilding. But I think for a long time I was just checking boxes versus like passionately checking boxes. And I'm not recommending any of my clients do this if you still need a coach. But for me, it's like I kind of know what I need to do. The coach was there for the accountability, and I wasn't delivering. And so I'm taking a little bit of a step back there. I still want to grow. I still want to pursue bodybuilding in ways. But like for me, for example, on Sunday, I went running and like it started as a jog and I was like, I'm going to go for 1 minute. And then it was like 8 minutes in and I'm like, I'm still going. So I started running instead of jogging. And then after like 5 minutes of that, I was like, I haven't sprinted in like a decade. Let me just sprint. And it felt like my legs were breaking. I kind of felt like Forrest Gump when he's breaking out of the little leg contraptions. And I thought I might like pull my hamstring, but I did it. And it made me think like this is the most non-bodybuilder thing you could do. And it's kind of fun. So I'm definitely still in bodybuilding, definitely still want to grow. But like for me, that was something very different. I mean, I haven't run in a very, very long time. Kind of also gone off the deep end, and then I'll wrap this up. I think I'm going to fail today. Today's been a colossal failure so far. I decided to order $150 worth of green bites and attempt a 10,000 calorie eating challenge. And I'm at like 3,000 calories right now. It's so much food. They're so sweet. I've never tried to do like an eating challenge with like sweet foods, but then I realized too, if I eat all of these to hit the 10,000 calories, I'm going to eat 640 grams of protein. That's so much protein. So
Yeah.
I'm like over here sweating, trying to get down the last one so I can technically finish meal two, but I might have to back out. Now what am I going to do with an extra 20 green bites just lying around the house? Normally that would be a problem because I'd want to snack on them. But right now I'm like, I don't need any more of these. So anyways, I'm all over the place. But I mean, I literally have, let me see if I can run y'all over. The whole
Oh my gosh.
a whole table full, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to get through it. But
Good
Brooke's just like,
luck.
what is going on with this dude? He is all over the place, and yes, I am. Um,
That's
so let
nice
us.
though. That's really nice though. I've been like kind of I would say now I've still been coached and I'm still checking in with my coach, but we like mutually decided like let's take a big step back from bodybuilding and like just give me a break. And so I did that since October. So, a couple months. And it was really nice, just to like, I would just go in the gym and just train whatever I wanted to train. I wasn't worried about progressive overload. I'd just like do whatever exercise I wanted to. And I did do some running, but God, my calves, because I'm not used to running. I'm just not conditioned to running. So like my calves started just killing me. So then I had to stop and I'm like, fuck this. This is why I don't run. And yeah, but it was really nice. I didn't track macros. But I just started prep actually. So I'm like back in it now. But it's interesting how my coach is doing it since I've been doing everything like intuitively for the past couple months. It's like we're starting off prep kind of intuitively. He's like, all right, just like do 20 minutes more cardio, like whatever you've been doing, just add 20 minutes onto that. And yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how this goes.
We are on like polar opposite ends of the spectrum. I'm over
Yeah.
here trying to eating challenges, and you're getting into prep. Do you guys have like a show date picked out or a timeline, or just gonna kind of see where you land?
Yeah, I'm like 23 weeks out. My goal is to do junior nationals. He really wants me to go to nationals, and since that one is in Chattanooga, which is only like a 2-hour drive, I feel like that's like the most reasonable one for me. I really don't want to have to travel. So that's what I'm shooting for. And I do need to get qualified again, obviously, because it's been 2 years. So my national qualification is up. So I'll have to go get qualified. So I'm thinking probably May because nationals is in June. It's like June 20th. So I'm thinking I'll probably need to do a show in either May or early June. And I don't know. I'm kind of undecided. Like, I may just need to see when I'm ready and then do a show. I may do a show in Georgia. I'll just have to see. The shows here aren't great. The competition isn't that great. So, like, I feel like I'll go do a show in Georgia and I'll get nationally qualified, but it's not really going to tell me anything about how I might do at nationals, because the competition just isn't here. So I don't know. I'm a little undecided about the local shows, the qualifier shows right now, but I mean, I'll definitely keep people posted on that.
But I want to go.
Yeah, I know. I thought about maybe Florida too, because I think Florida, the competition is way better than at least than it is here.
Yeah. I'll get qualified in Georgia and then figure it out from there.
Yeah.
All righty. Well, take advice from Brooke because she's locked in. Don't take advice from me because I'm all over the place. I love how I'm about to try and give some really good advice, even though it might sound like I have no clue what I'm doing. I think I'll say if you've been coached for 5 years straight without any time off, you'll probably know how I feel. If you haven't hit that, then you don't know. But yeah, I think one day I might get back in your shoes, Brooke. We'll see. Yeah, I think you still have a healthy passion for competing, at least from when we've talked. Like you're super stoked, and it's not just like a chore. Um, Whereas for me, I'm afraid of what all it's going to keep me from doing. That could be good for the world. So it's just like at least in my last prep, I was dead the whole time. So
Yeah.
um,
I'm excited to give it another shot, especially with this new fit model division. I feel like bikini is going to I don't know. I think now because I feel like before this fit model division, like even though bikini is muscular and these girls are bigger, I feel like they were still trying to pull you down to an entry level position. And I remember being told by Paul Revia, John Jewett's team, even my coach, actually my coach, no, I won't put him in this group, but they were like, you're really almost too big for bikini. Like you're walking the line. So you really have to be careful how you train. You need to be careful with your off season. Like you are walking the line. So like again, they're still trying to pull you down to like that entry level, but now we have an entry level, which is the fit model. So I feel like bikini is going to be a little bit more lenient on the muscularity and density now that they're kind of going back to that like old school like bikini look, like what it was in 2010, 2011.
yeah, that's a very good point that I hadn't considered until right now. But yeah, for people that don't know, it's the fit model division, right?
Yes, fit
Yeah.
model.
Basically what if you go look at like bikini winners from like the 2016 2017 around there, that's basically what they're kind of pulling this division back to, which gives, like you just said, some extra room for someone like yourself to kind of grow. I think the gray area has been increased on how muscular you could be in bikini. That would be my guess.
Yeah.
There's so many divisions now. It's a lot, but yeah. Um, all right, cool. So today, I think what we were gonna jump into. Let me pull it up. I have the text because that will help me out. Kind of all things how to basically we're basically teaching people how to kind of self-coach themselves is kind of what this episode is going to be. So like the difference and the understanding between your BMR, your TDEE, how to find them, where they should be at, um, how to set up your macros, how many calories are in each macro, determining if you should bulk or cut, basic meal plan advice. Yeah,
Yeah.
like tracking your body weight, all those different things that you would kind of need to know if you're looking to coach yourself. And then, if you guys need some extra hands-on advice, you're listening to two awesome, phenomenal physique, mindset, wellness coaches right here. So, yeah, I don't know. How do we want to break this up, or do we just want to dive right in?
Yeah, I think step one, because basically we're trying to help you guys. Like, if you're starting from zero, this episode's really going to help you because if you don't know where to start, what to do, how we figure out all these things, this is exactly how we do it. So I think first of all, you got to decide which direction you want to go into. So do you need to go into a building phase or do you need to go in a cutting phase? Because if you don't know that, you're not really going to know how to calculate your food and how to structure your cardio, your food, whatever. So you want to talk about that first, if deciding if you need to cut or if you need to go into a building phase?
Yeah. Yeah, I would from like me as a coach, like I'll just throw it out there. Y'all could send me make sure you're not naked or something. But you could you could send me your photos like where you're currently sitting and be like, "Do you think I should bulk or cut?" And then what I would look for as a coach, typically like body fat percentage is like the first thing, cuz even if you are, let's say you're relatively like muscularly skinny, but you got a big pot belly, in that case, like the technical, maybe not technical term, but the term is like skinny fat. I've heard people say, well, I'm a little fatter than I'd like to be, but I think I should bulk up first and build the muscle and then cut the fat. I, as a coach, would typically recommend you get to at least your bare minimum desired level of leanness and then try to add muscle from there. If you're a complete beginner and you're very overweight, or even mildly overweight, still go lift because you'll probably be able to build some muscle in this time. But the overarching goal is to get you into both a healthy and a optimal is maybe not the best word, but like an efficient body fat percentage. Because if you're very fat, it's hard for your body to add muscle. It's just going to be more inclined to add more fat. So that's my very long-winded way of saying it. But how would you assess, like, if you have a new client, Brooke, that's not sure if they should bulk or cut, how do you help them make that decision?
Yeah, very similar to you. I feel the exact same way. I think if you are at a body fat percentage that you're unhappy with in the sense that it's too high, then you really should focus on fat loss first. I know there is another camp of people who, feel like, well, you need to build muscle, you need to focus on building muscle and then lose the fat so that you like what you look like when you come down. But like you said, and just also for my own personal experience, I've done, like a building phase, a bulk phase, if you will, when I really wasn't lean like I wanted to be. And then you just end up getting bigger and bigger. Like, yeah, you're building muscle, but you're also putting that muscle on under body fat. So you just get bigger and bulkier. So that's exactly what I do. When I have women come to me and they're not really sure what to do, if they're unhappy with their body fat percentage, if they're skinny fat, like whatever, we still focus on getting that body fat off and getting them as lean as they want to be, and then reverse dieting them out of it. And typically, when I just see the best results that way. I have seen the best results in all of my female clients when they come to me, we get all the body fat off, and then we start to add in calories and then start to focus on building muscle and reversing them out. Like, they even maintain that leanness, like that low body fat percentage, and just put on muscle if we go slow enough with the reverse. So I think that's the best way to do it. Now, if you're starting out like super, super skinny with hardly any body fat, then you do need to go into a building phase. But I think most people are, like you said, kind of in that weird place where it's like, I'm not obese, but I also have some body fat I need to lose. So, like, what do I need to do?
Yeah, 100%. And that's typically, like, as a coach, my preferred, like, if I had it my way, if I had a client that was like a little bit overweight that needed help losing weight versus a client that was extremely skinny and needed to bulk, it's usually an easier process with the more overweight clients simply because it takes time. It takes months or even for some people years to learn how to train intensely. And you have to train pretty intensely to build muscle. So if I got somebody that needs to go into a 3-month cutting phase, we now have 3 months of this cutting phase to teach them how to train intense and train with good form. So that when we're out of the cutting phase and we reverse and then we start adding more food back in, they can actually use this food to perform in the gym and build muscle versus just getting fat. Because that typical skinny client, it might seem like progress is slower because it's going to take me 1 to 2 months of encouraging them to actually push themselves in the gym and to the point where they get to a true level of intensity. Unless they were former military, former collegiate athlete. Sometimes I get people like that. But if you haven't been to the gym before, don't be overly hard on yourself. But it is going to take a few months to learn how to train as if somebody's life is on the line. It's not an easy thing to unlock, but it's kind of what's needed to grow the most muscle.
Yeah.
For
And
most
I think from a motivation standpoint too, um, if you go into the fat loss phase first, you are able to see those changes rather quickly. Fat loss
Yeah.
is relatively fast and simple. Where, like you said, with muscle building, that takes time. So yeah, it is, even from like a coaching perspective, like yeah, if somebody comes to you and they're super skinny and they need to build a lot of muscle, I already know, like, I'm like, this is going to be like a 2-3 year process before you really are where you want to be. And that for some people can be really demotivating. And so same thing, if like you're kind of a little bit overweight and you really just focus on building muscle, you're not really going to see those changes as quickly as if you got the fat off and then reversed out of it. So I feel like just from like a motivation standpoint to keep consistent in your fitness journey, I think it's smart to get the body fat off and then focus on building muscle, because it's just you see those results more quickly, and that's always motivating to people to keep going. So
Yeah,
okay.
great.
So you have
Um,
your, which way you're going to go. How should you figure out what to eat? Your calories, your macros, your protein. What do you do?
so I don't know where to throw this in. I'm gonna throw it in now so I don't forget later. But I think right before we get to that is having some goals. So if you were in that losing phase, like you were just saying, you can see results faster. The kind of rule of thumb that I use is ideally we would see about a 1% of body weight drop per week in a cutting phase. Like that's just kind of about ideal. So if let's put it like in a real numbers, if you're a 200-pound man that needs to lose some fat, you could lose 2 pounds a week. 300-pound woman that needs to lose some fat, you could easily do 3 pounds a week. That ends up being 12 pounds a month. You do that for 4 months. That's a big change. Whereas with gaining, you can stick to that 1%, but I say like more like 1% per month. If you're already 200 pounds and you've maybe trained for a little bit, if you're gaining more than like 2 pounds a month, you're going to get fat pretty quickly. So those are kind of like some rule of thumbs. So then it's like, okay, well, you just gave me the rule of thumb. So then back to your question, how do we figure out your TDEE? What is your TDEE? What's your BMR? How do we plan calories to hit those percent of increases or decreases? So I'll let you explain what BMR is.
BMR, basal metabolic rate. And this is just basically a fancy term for how much your body burns on a daily basis without you having to do anything, without you having to go do a bunch of cardio, like whatever it is. It's like, if the best way I like to think of it or explain it to clients is if like you were laying on the couch all day, or if you were in a coma, like this is how much food you would need every day just to keep your body running, your organs, your brain. So your BMR, you never want to eat under your BMR. So if you go online and make your life easy, there's BMR I think it's calculator.net. I think that's the website, but they have all sorts of different calculators. Like they have macro, they have a TDEE, and they have BMR. They have all sorts of stuff on there. Make your life easy. Go just look up an online calculator, and you can plug in your information there, and it'll spit out a number. And the BMR is something that you don't want to eat under ever. And I always have to tell that to women, because usually they'll get these BMRs that are like 1,500 calories, and they're eating like 1,200 calorie diets. So you're not eating enough just to meet your daily needs, like what your body needs just to survive. At that point, you would be cannibalizing your body and eating away at muscle, which you don't want to do. So BMR is like by far the minimum amount of food that you need to eat. So that's different than TDEE, which is going to actually take into account your daily movement, like the thermic effect of food, which is basically just like how much calories your body burns by digesting your food. And so, for example, like the TDE for someone who works in an office versus somebody who's like a waitress and they're on their feet all day, they're going to be exponentially different because activity is factored into that. And that's another good way to figure out your daily minimum calories, because that's how much your body is burning naturally, just living your life, your job, your exercise, whatever. And from there, you can start to play around with whether you need to be in a surplus or in a deficit. Obviously, if you're going into a bulking phase, gaining phase, you could do slightly above maintenance. You could be in a surplus. If you're going into a fat loss phase, you need to be in a deficit. And I also just want to give like a caveat to these calculations though. I do these calculations all the time, every day for people, and they are rarely accurate, like 100%. There are times where they're like dead on, but usually I have to tweak it a little bit. And that's where, having a coach is really helpful. And I remember when I first started working out and I used these calculators, even now, like I'll plug my stuff in. It'll tell me I need like 2,500 calories a day. I know if I eat that, I'm going to gain weight. I know I will, because I know my body. So there's a caveat to using these calculators. They're a good start, but they're not everything. So if you get some information from a calculator and you're not getting results, don't get frustrated. Just take your feedback and then tailor the calories accordingly. I'm sure you deal with the same thing.
Yeah, no, I think you hit a lot of really good points. You wouldn't want to go under your BMR. There is a limit to how fast our bodies can burn fat. So if you pass that limit, then your body's like, okay, I can't burn fat for energy. Let me burn up some muscle. Let me find another way. Let me really down regulate my metabolism. Our bodies they're relatively good at what they do of keeping us alive. They'll find ways to play games with calories if they need to. Um, so BMR is mildly useful. I mean, it's just kind of like, this is your baseline, like you said. It's almost like how much gas does your car use when it's idling versus driving. So I used to think, well, I just want to get so big and muscular that I can eat so much food. But then I realized, like, the reason why muscular people can eat more isn't because they carry around these big muscles when they're sitting at home. It's because they're actually doing more work in the gym. Instead of doing, I don't know, 100 pounds for 10 reps, they're doing 150 pounds for 12 reps, and that burns a lot more calories. So all that to say, TDEE is much more important. However, a calculator doesn't pick up, do I like twitch when I'm sitting? Like, we know some people that do that, not even on drugs. That's just how they are. Do I tap my foot? Do I walk a little bit extra more than I realized? Like Allie, my girlfriend, she always forgets to put on her Apple Watch for the first like 2 hours each day. So I always have more steps than her, no matter what. And it's like, well, you probably picked up like 2,000 steps walking around the house doing laundry and stuff in the morning. Like, it just didn't get logged. So for me, it's probably been 2 or 3 years since I've used the TDE calculator for a client. Um, I think they're a good guessing point. Like you said, like, let's say in Brooke's example, if Brooke was self-coaching, it said 2,400. She's like, oh, this is the first time I've ever done it. I'm just going to plug in 2,400. Oh, wow. I'm up 2 pounds this week. Well, let's run it for one more week. Oh, I'm up another pound and a half. Okay, this is faster than I should be gaining. I need to make some changes here and pull my calories back down to a more realistic level. For me as a coach, I can kind of just look and guess and get close to where that TDE calculator is. But then I just go based on the data. It's like, this is your meal plan. You're going to stick for this to 1 to 2 weeks. And we're going to assess how you feel, how you perform, how your photos are, and where the scale is going. And not a single day. I don't care if you gain 1 or 2 pounds or lose 1 or 2 pounds the first day you're on it. It's, what does this look like over the course of a week or two? And then we adjust and change course from there. So
Yep. I
hopefully,
always tell my clients, give it 2 weeks. Always give it 1 to 2 weeks, because people get so obsessed with these little daily fluctuations, and that can be anything. That could be anything. You really won't know until you give it 1 to 2 weeks. And so you got to put your patient pants on. But yeah, the app that I use it's awesome. It spits out like like a BMR calculation and a TDEE calculation. And I always look at it and I'm like, thanks, but I know I'm going to have to tailor this a little bit more. It's not always accurate. Like you said, there's little things that it misses. Another thing I feel like is really important is your history. Like, if you were crash dieting and eating 1,200, 1,100 calories when you come to me, and I have this happen all the time. So I actually just had a client recently who came to me, and she, props to her, because she got on a call with me and she said, like, I need help because I'm starving myself. I'm eating like 1,100 calories and I've lost a ton of weight, but I'm skinny. I'm small now. I don't like how I look. Like, I need your help. I need to learn how to reverse diet. I'm like, wow, that's impressive, because a lot of women are scared to do that. But anyways, so her TDEE was like 1,700 calories, and I could have easily put her on that, but I knew this woman has been starving herself for the past 6 months. She's lost over 100 pounds. There's no way I can put her on 1,700 calories. Her metabolism has downregulated. So these calculators, they don't know your history, how long you've done crash diets, your metabolic rate. So, I had to lower her calories based off what she had been doing, and then slowly work on increasing them. But, things like that, hormones, chronic conditions, gut health, there's so many different things that play a role. So the calculators are a great start. I do really think they are a great tool. I think they'll tell you some useful information, but it's not everything. So, yeah, if you get frustrated because you're not seeing results, I think the most important thing is your own feedback. Your own feedback is better than any calculator, computer, anything. And if your measurements, your weight is going up and you're in a fat loss phase, it's time to figure something else out. So you have two options. You can either increase your energy expenditure or you can decrease your food. And so, I mean, those are the only two options for you. And then from there, try one thing. I think always try one thing at a time. So like with my clients, unless they're in prep, unless they're a competitor, we're either going to increase cardio or increase steps this week or decrease food. I usually don't do both at the same time, just because I feel like the more variables you change, then you don't know what really worked and what didn't work. And then I always also try to explain to my clients that, and this is also important when you're setting up your fat loss plan or your gaining plan, is to figure out how much runway you have. And we do this in prep to a more extreme level, right? Like for example, if you're a woman and you're starting your prep at like 1,200 calories, you're screwed. Because then, like, what are you going to be at peak week? 600 calories. So it's the same thing if you're a normal person just looking to get some fat off, but then maintain it and keep it. It's making sure that you have plenty of runway there. So if you start out doing 45 minutes of cardio and doing 1,100 calories every day, once you hit a plateau, you don't have anywhere to go. So you got to make sure that you give yourself plenty of runway so that you can slowly taper things down week to week as you start to hit these roadblocks with your progress.
I agree. I think we should throw out the caveat for this episode. Like, if you come from a place of disordered eating, or if you come from a place of you've been only eating 1,000 calories, I don't care how small you are. Like, even if you're 4'5" and 110 pounds, 1,000 calories probably still isn't enough. Those might need some special look. That might be worth setting up a consult call with a coach just to have a second opinion there. What we're trying to provide here, at least my thought process, is for that new individual or somebody getting back into it that hasn't tried tracking before, because it's very difficult for probably 90+% of America to intuitively eat correctly. So that's why tracking is important, and it helps you understand. And back to the calculators, they're only as good as what you put in. And things change over time. I literally, like, in the last 2 weeks, I had a client that his whole goal was to gain weight, and we had gained like 3 pounds over the course of like the first month. And I was like, oh yeah, it's probably time to like give you a bump in food. And at his next check-in after a bump in food, he was down like 3 pounds. I was like, okay, and not just a single weigh-in, but like trending down the whole week. I'm like, why? Have you been missing meals? He's like, no, I've been eating all the meals. I'm like, something's different here. Are you still hungry? Like, what, are you getting hungrier? He's like, man, I'm starving. I'm at this new job with UPS. I'm walking like 25,000 steps a day. I was like, that. And he's like, and then I'm tired. I have to go do cardio after it. And I was like, okay. Like, now I understand. Like, if something changes in your lifestyle and you start having a job like that, or it's the busy season at your job and things change, that alone, that activity, that extreme amount of activity can change what you're eating. It's hard to outdo it. It's hard to do out activity, eat food, because it's easy to get some food in. But for some people, that's definitely the case. So you might need to update things as you go. So getting a little bit more, continuing this like train of advice. Also, I am gonna have to get some pants that say patience next time I'm feeling a little bit what's the word? impatient, I'll put on my patient pants. But you can say buckle up
I love that
buttercup on
one.
the other side.
Yeah, I love that one. Any opportunity I get to say patient pants, I always say, because that's like one of my favorite ones.
My clients, I apologize. You're probably about to get this one. Time to go put on your your big boy or big girl patient's pants. Um, all right, so we've told them, how they can kind of use the calculators to find out where their calories are at, if they should bulk or cut. So let's say that calculator spit out 2,000 calories, and we think that that's a realistic number for their goal, whether they're bulking or they're cutting. Where do they go from there? Do you have everybody do macros? Do you just keep it with calories? Is it goal dependent? How would you next direct somebody from there?
Yes, 100% it is goal dependent, at least how I coach personally. Um, are you eating green bites, by the way?
I am.
Are you still
Um,
trying to
um,
get your 10,000 calories in?
this will put me at 3,300, which is like 33% of the way there. I don't know if I
You're
can do it, dude.
I know you're just gonna have to like chug some olive oil or something. Damn.
Oh, well, no, that would be easy. If I could do like
Oh, you're
5,000 green
only
bites,
doing green bites.
it was a green bites promotion that I thought of, and I don't know what the hell I was thinking. It's so much 600 grams of protein. People at home, this has nothing to do with the episode. Don't do it yourself. It's dumb. I'm regretting this since I started. Like once I hit the fifth green bite with meal one, I was like, oh no. The first three were great. After that, it's like it's not even fair. It's like these are supposed to be treats, and I'm not
Oh
enjoying it.
God.
So
I'll pray for you.
uh, yeah, I could probably use
So
it.
let's see, what was I even say? Oh yeah, so it is goal dependent based off what it is. So for my competitors, for people who are very serious about achieving a insane, freaky physique that is questionably healthy or not, those people will need macros. Those people will need full macros. They'll need protein, they'll need carbohydrates, and they'll need fats, specifically because we're trying to achieve a certain look. So by manipulating those macronutrients, we can achieve a certain look, based off other things like water, cardio, sodium, whatever. However, for my normal everyday clients, moms, just regular people working in corporate, that's probably most of you listening. So if that's you, for those people, I only have them track their calories and their protein. Um, I don't have them track their carbs or their fats. And I do see protein as an important component because having your protein controlled is what helps your carbs and your fats balance out as ratio, in the ratios, because it's all just ratios anyways. Without the protein component, that's where you run into trouble with calories. So like I always use the example of Weight Watchers. I don't even know if that's still big anymore. It used to be really big. Several years ago, my mom did it. And, it's just basically like a point system. It's basically just calories. But the problem with Weight Watchers is there is no sort of like protein component. So, like a lot of people, they get to the end of Weight Watchers and they're just kind of like a smaller version of themselves. Like we said before, a lot of people describe it as skinny fat, right? And the protein is what comes in and really changes that skinny fat to a lean, toned, more muscular physique. Because protein is an important macronutrient when you're trying to build lean muscle mass and achieve a lean physique. So, and then again, the other strategy with that is you're tracking protein so you don't have to track the fats or the carbs. So for my normal everyday people just living their lives, that's what I have them do. Competitors, they're on full macros, but protein, really simple, 0.8 grams times your body weight, and that's like exactly how much you need to eat. And you can play around with those numbers. That's like the minimum, I would say, if you're trying to achieve an athletic physique. But anywhere from like I know some people do 1 gram per pound of body weight. I know some people do 1.2 grams. So whatever works best for you, you can play around with those numbers. But those are just like some generic kind of cookie cutter ways to figure out your protein goals.
I like that. I think you hit a really good point with the Weight Watchers. Like, Weight Watchers will get your calories in the right range. It's basically, I'm sure it's something like this. Like a Weight Watchers meal that has 5 points is probably like 500 calories. They just found a new way to phrase calories as
Yeah.
points, and then make this whole community based on it, and kind of create their own copying of the system and then trademarking it and whatnot. So you don't need Weight Watchers. You can just track calories just as easily. And like Brooke said, if you only track calories, you might set yourself out to miss on some of the macronutrients that are going to be important. Protein, I would say, for the average person that has any sort of physique goals, protein is the first most important, but like you can't forget about fats because they're vital for hormone production, and you don't want to forget about carbs either and go like full keto, like protein and fat only, because carbs help you generate force, use your brain, make your muscles work. For me, they prevent me from going hangry, but all of that to be said, I think for me, the easy number, the easy math is a gram per pound of body weight for protein. Now, if you're 400 pounds and on a weight loss journey, you probably don't need 400 grams. Um, I guess what I would say is, yeah, I like how you do it with your lifestyle clients. I've actually never done that for my own clients. I pretty much give everybody a meal plan with macros listed. But I think like if a friend was asking like, hey, how do I lose some weight, but not, burn up all my muscle as well, and I'm 200 pounds, well, we'll start you at 2,500 calories and you'll do 200 grams of protein, and you track that for 2 weeks. If we don't see at least a couple pounds down, then we'll keep the protein where it's at and we'll drop the calories. So then they'll just take a look at what they've been eating that week and be like, okay, I've got a banana here, I've got some rice cakes, I don't know, whatever else they've been eating that's like, oh, and some nuts. I'm going to take out some of this banana or some of these rice cakes. That'll drop my calories, but it won't really drop my protein. So I think that's really useful information. I mean, like, if you're just trying to lose some fat and maintain your muscle or build a little bit more muscle along the way, like if you do just what we've mentioned on this episode, you'll be in the right direction. Obviously, you gotta work out too, but
Oh yeah.
um,
But nutrition
yeah,
alone is a huge part of of your results. I would argue, like, I think 70% of your results as far as fat loss goes are mostly going to be your nutrition, because and then so the other thing with just counting calories, like with Weight Watchers, we'll use that example again. I don't know if you ever saw those, like they used to have like like products in grocery stores, like they'd have like these little like cakes, like I don't know, you've been vegan so long you probably haven't seen them, but they were like little Debbie cakes, whatever, but they were like fat free, sugar free, and they'd be like 1 point, and they'd advertise it like that. So like if you're just doing calories, you
yeah,
could really eat just shit all day, like, and get away with it. But if you add the protein component, then you do have to be a little bit more mindful of your choices. And of course, you could probably just get away with, protein chips and bars and whatever. But I do think it does make you be a little bit more mindful of the kind of foods that you're incorporating into your day. So I think that's another benefit to tracking both of those. But I think for like
yeah.
everyday people, it's just more flexible, it's more sustainable to not have to do all three macros.
I think so. I think it depends on. For me, it's almost like brushing my teeth. I just need to know the correct procedure. That's all. I'm not trying to become a dentist, but some people are, and they want to go to school and they want to learn the ins and outs of all sorts of different things. And for me, it's something I need to check off. So if you're just trying to check it off, calories and protein. If you really do want to dive a little bit deeper and understand how you can have a better control over your physique, it might be good to learn at least the macros. And I think either or is going to be really beneficial, because then people might look at food and realize, whoa, I could have this big bowl of salad. It's going to take me 20 minutes to eat, or I could have these 4 Oreos. Both are vegan, both are 200 calories. One or 400 calories. One is just going to leave you feeling full, nutritious, satisfied. The other one's going to leave you feeling hungry. So what I would typically like to further break this down, the 2,500 calories a day, the 200 grams of protein. They're like, but I still want some cake. I still want some ice cream. Is that allowed? Of course, it can be part of that 2,500. And what I tell people, if you're eating 80% healthy food, typically like unprocessed whole foods, fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, things along that nature, then take the other 20% and eat whatever the hell you want, because that 20% will help you stay on the rest of the diet. So easy math, 2,500 calories, 20% is 500 calories. Go get yourself 500 calories of ice cream, 500 calories of Oreos, like whatever. As long as that 80% is still there, you're going to be good. And what you'll have to realize is when you're in a cutting phase and your calories go down, 20% of 2,000 is a lot less than 20% of 4,000. So when you're in that bulking phase, you'll have a little bit more leeway with your food. But yeah, I think that hopefully is giving some guidance. I'm just trying to think of like other questions that people might have up to this point. Um,
I want to just like briefly hit on that too. I think that's like honestly the healthiest way to reach your goal is to work in little things like that, ice cream, cookies, and treats. And I think sometimes people they are too restrictive, trying to be healthy. They have good intentions, but it ends up backfiring on them. And I think that's one of my biggest mistakes, like looking back on my fitness journey, is like if I was in, I was all in. And it meant not having this, that, or the other. And I've had the best relationship with food, just working those things in. Sometimes even with my clients, like, they're like, well, I did have some brownies, but I worked it into my calories. And I'm like, well, why are you saying it like that? That's a win. Like, that's a win that you still made room. Like, you still hit your goals, you still hit your protein, but you had a brownie and you made it work and you still made progress this week. Like, that's a huge win. That's something you should be excited about. So I think that's something else too. Like, if you're first starting out, you should not be restrictive. I think the healthiest way to be is to have balance. And like people get sucked into this Whole Foods thing, and Whole Foods is great, but like I think overall, just for your mindset, for your social life, for your mental health, having some treats here and there just to make you feel like a normal person is a good thing, is a healthy thing.
100%. And I tell people usually like try to meet yourself where you're at. That sounds a little silly saying it, but like if you're at home and you've got fresh food to make and it's easy to eat the whole foods unprocessed diet and have healthy food, then maybe do that and maybe kind of bank that like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday I was at home, I didn't go out, I didn't need to eat junk, but oh, my best friend's in town Thursday and they want to go out to a restaurant, maybe it's not the healthiest food. It's like, well, you already got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday in the bank, go enjoy Thursday. Um, like for me, especially if I know Thursday's coming up, I probably won't have the ice cream snack Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I'll wait for going out to get the ice cream on Thursday. So there's different ways you can kind of work it to where you're at. And I said, like meet yourself where you're at. If you're just craving ice cream on a Tuesday, then maybe you go get it. Or I mean, for me, I think Brooke, you and I do the same. Like we kind of find like almost like hacks, like the Ninja Creamy, or for me, making like a smoothie bowl. Like if I make a smoothie bowl with like some vanilla flavored protein powder, throw in a bunch of berries, some almond butter, rice cakes crumbled up on top, maybe a little bit of sugar-free syrup or something, like that's as good to me as like ice cream. And then I feel good after eating it. So I kind of like got my cheat without cheating in a way, I guess. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I like
Um,
hacks. That's helped me a lot in my fitness journey. Like if I'm going to the movies, I just like sneak in some of those smart sweets. Have you had the smart sweets?
literally went to go see Gladiator and brought some of the Swedish fish ones. Yes.
Exactly. Yes. So I'll sneak in some of those. Maybe like sometimes like my own like popcorn, like because you always get there and then you smell it and then you want some. So I always just like bring my big purse and put stuff in there, sneak it in. So sometimes that's really helpful. But like also, if you want the real thing, like that's what I had to learn too, is like if I want the real thing, just have the real thing, but then just don't go crazy. I've just had to learn that like by using moderation. But it's like you said, it's like the more you restrict, the more desirable the food becomes. So that's like a dangerous game that you play.
Yeah.
So if you just do let yourself like have that cookie or like whatever it is, it's not a big deal and you become kind of desensitized to it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the hardest part about prep is like we put so much pressure on ourselves to really do the best, and it's like at that time you want to control all the variables. And for me, like I didn't cheat at all during prep, and then definitely had some binge eating issues after my last prep. Let me check the notes here because I think we've pretty much touched on everything that I wanted to cover. Um,
Yeah, let's see.
I
They
guess
have
I
their calories, they have their protein.
Yeah, so some like what's the word here? Some actual tools that you guys probably want to have on your journey if you're trying to like self coach. A really good bathroom scale. I'm sure you can DM me or Brooke for advice on which one to get. I have it's like $20 on Amazon that I have all my clients use. I've been using the same one for like a decade. I can't believe it hasn't died yet. But a good bathroom scale. I recommend that clients wake up in the morning, go to the bathroom if they need to go to the bathroom, then try and get on the scale either undressed or in like the same underwear or same style of underwear each day. Because if I got my shoes on and a jacket, like I'm gonna be 8 pounds over what I'm really at. Um, recommend you log your body weight just so you can see it. And some people are like, I hate to log it every day. And I say it usually helps you though, because if you only log once a week and you see a number you don't like, then it's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Whereas if you got 7 days worth of data, it's like, oh, that day was off. Maybe I drank extra water last night, or I didn't poop this morning. Like it could be anything, not worth worrying about. Um, I use my Fitness Pal or chronometer or something like that to track your calories and your macros if you want. Um, and then a food scale. I would really recommend looking around for mine. I literally travel with this thing because when I'm not eating 10,000 calories worth of green bites, it helps me to actually weigh things out and literally pretty much everything. It might sound silly, but like protein scoops are often not super accurate because it's how like tightly clumped the powder gets. So if you want to weigh your protein, weigh your fruits, you'd be surprised how different two apples could weigh. It'll just keep you a bit more accurate. Um, and for me, it's less cleanup. I don't have to get measuring cups out. I just weigh everything on a scale. Pro tip: um, a gram is the same as a milliliter. So if you need 240 milliliters of almond milk, just do 240 grams. Super easy. Um, I think that's that's all I had written down. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's solid. I think that's solid enough to get somebody started. That's really all you need. And some good tools. Those are all the things I would recommend too. And we're about to cover meal prep in our next episode. So for tips on how to make your meal prep easy and seamless, make sure that you check out our next episode.
Heck yeah. Most definitely. Um, I guess the last thing, and then I'll leave it. I'm done. I don't care, even if I have a great idea. Take photos. Take photos, guys. Even if you hate how you look,
Yeah.
honestly, the more you hate how you look, the better the before and after transformation is going to get. I wish I had taken more photos before I started working out back when I was like 125 pounds. Like it'd be cool to be able to show those today. But yeah, definitely take photos. I highly recommend you get like a ring light, have the same location, do them like the same day of the week, every Monday morning or whatever, at about the same time. Because if you're using natural lighting, some days it's cloudy and then it throws off your photos. But definitely a good idea to kind of just be able to see some of the changes that you might not notice on the scale. I've had some clients that work with me for months and their body weight doesn't really change, but their waist gets skinnier, their shoulders get bigger, they get leaner, and they're happier. And it's like, number on the scale doesn't matter if everything else is looking great. So um,
Yes. Track your progress. That one's huge. Like, do not start a fitness journey without tracking your progress. And because like you said, and I've had clients go through a whole 5-month program and their weight maybe deviated like 3-4 pounds, but like their pictures are insanely different, or like the measurements are insanely different. And so like you can imagine it would be really frustrating if you had just weighed yourself and you may have given up on like week 4, but tracking your measurements and your pictures, you're able to see the changes and keep going. So definitely track. And funny story with my first before pictures, I was the same way. I hated what I looked like, but I knew I was like, one day I'm going to look back and I'm going to be like, damn, I can't believe I did that. And I'm going to be so glad I took these pictures. So I just took the pictures of myself and I emailed them to myself and then I deleted them off my phone so I wouldn't have to like see them as I was scrolling through my photos. And a couple years later, I knew I still had those photos in there somewhere and I looked back and it was amazing. And I'm so glad I have them. And that's the before pictures that you guys all see on my Instagram now.
So smart and forward thinking. Like, I'm so glad you did that because you just you might know, you
Yeah.
might kind of remember, but nobody else would be able to see it. So that's awesome.
Yeah, and, like, your starting point, like, before you, like it's, like, one thing to take it, like, halfway through, but, like, before you start, you lose 1 single pound, you build any pound of muscle, like, you're gonna look back and see just insane changes. You're gonna be so glad you did. And you could do exactly what I did, just, like, put them in the cloud or, like, I don't know, put them in your email, like, put them somewhere and, like, just delete them off your phone and just go back to them one day, like, when you're ready to look back at them.
Hell yeah. All right. I think that's it for this one. I think we
Yeah.
nailed it. Guys, girls, people around the world, if you're still listening, one, we thank you. Two, it really, 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 really helps us if you can leave a review on whatever platform you're listening on. It lets other people know that you're enjoying this, lets us know that you want to see more episodes. So whatever you can do, please do leave a review. And yes, that's how we're going to grow this. That's how season 5 is just going to keep on growing and going out. Do we want to take a question, Brooke? Do we have time for a question?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, we can do one question. You guys are sending us in questions, so we're trying to roll through them. I have gotten long-winded on this one, but we can run a question out before it's over. So if Sean would kindly cue that up for us.
Hey, Brooke and John. I had a question about how many grams of fat I should be including in my meal plan. I know that eating healthy fats is important for your body, but I've always been a little bit scared about fats. I, for some reason, associate fat with getting fat, but I know it's important for muscle building goals, so just wanted to get y'all's opinion on fats and how many grams should be in my diet. Thank you.
Okay. Cool. Well, thank you, Alex. Alex is a member of Vegans Explore and a loyal listener, and also my best friend. So, good question too. Do you have a guideline, Brooke, as far as like a minimum amount of fat for a male or a female client? Or I know we kind of just said you can track your calories, but I think it is important that like you don't just track calories and protein and only eat carbs. So like what would you recommend as kind of a baseline for fats?
Yeah, well, I mean, I will say one thing, if you're eating enough calories, it's highly unlikely that you're going to be deficient in, either carbs or fats. But especially for women, it's important to make sure that they get enough fats. I think men can be a little bit more flexible with dietary fats. I mean, it's hard to say because everybody's different. But I mean, I wouldn't say, I mean, even in a prep scenario, for example, 45 grams of fat I think is pretty reasonable, but I think that's probably the minimum for most women. Just especially because women need fats for hormone production. And so I would probably not go any lower than 45 grams of fat for most women. Um, but yeah, it's hard to say because everybody's so dependent. It depends on your calories and what your goals are.
Yeah, I think it depends would be the easiest answer. It's important for men as well, unless they are on like TRT or hormone replacement therapy to get fats to produce testosterone. So for me, body weight does play into this, but just like general numbers, typically for guys, I don't like to take them under 45 to 50 grams of fat a day. Like that's usually like about a bottom number. And then for ladies, 30, 35 is usually about as low as I'll go. I have had some people in prep need to go lower than that for like 2 weeks. But it's not something that I like to do long term. And it's just body weight dependent. Like I probably, if I had a 250-pound male, I wouldn't put them at 45 grams of fat. I'd want it higher. But if I got like a 150-pound guy that's getting lean, maybe doing a photo shoot or something, might go down to 40 for a little bit. But anywhere below there, like if your fats, if you're tracking on MyFitnessPal and you see like 26 is my fats today, you probably want to trade some carbs or even protein to raise that fat higher. So dietary fats are hugely important. One thing Alex mentioned that I think is worth hitting on is dietary fats don't make you fat. Just because you eat fat doesn't mean you get fat. Now, people might think about that from the fact that fat, when you eat it as dietary fat, doesn't have to be converted to fat to be stored as fat, whereas like protein has to be broken down and converted to be stored as fat. So protein's more likely to be used for muscle building or energy. Same with carbs. However, none of that really matters if your calories are in line. If you're eating way too many calories and no fat, you can still get fat. And if you're eating the other way, too few calories, but you're eating a lot of fat, and like a lot of those calories are coming from fat, but still not enough calories, you'll still lose weight. So it's important to kind of have that balance. I think Brooke's right. If you're eating a varied diet, it's hard to miss fat. Like the fat like healthy fats come in so many things. We have all the nuts, seeds, nut butters, avocados, tofu,
tempeh.
tempeh, olive oil. Like there's so many healthy fats out there, and unless you're following a very restrictive diet, you're more than likely gonna get a pretty healthy amount. But I have had people tell me like, "Hey, I'm only at 20 grams of fat today. What do I do?" And I'm like, "That's too low. That's just too low." And you know what? Their calories were low too. So if their calories were more in line, they would have been all right. But long term, it's not a good look. You can do it for a day. Like you can just not eat for a day and be fine. You can overeat for a day and be fine. But it's like, what are you doing long term? You doing this every day? That might be a problem.
Yeah, I think a great example of that is like the keto people. You know, usually the keto people, they see a dramatic weight loss in the very beginning and they're eating tons of fat. They're eating tons of fat. It's just their calories are usually in check. So they're usually eating in a deficit. So, yeah, fat will not make you fat. It is the easiest converted of the macronutrients to fat, but it is all about calories. So, make sure your calories are in check.
100%. All right. So I think that wraps up this episode. If you're still listening, make sure you leave us a review. And we will be back next week, just like we are. We're going to run out this whole season. We're going to have some great guests. Super appreciative of everyone that's helped us get here. And we're going to keep on going. So, Brooke, thank you for your time. I'll see y'all next week.